I start with the piano. I'm sitting at the piano. I improvise. I just start playing. And a lot of times when I start playing, it just kind of comes out. I don't always have something in my mind.
Okay.
In fact, usually the something in my mind is after I've been working quite a bit on the piano and already experimenting with sounds. And there's been many times in the middle of the night, I'll hear something, but it's usually because I've already spent so much time at the keyboard developing ideas, and then I hear more ideas. I'm not the kind of person that I'm just randomly hearing things. If I'm not currently working on something, it just doesn't happen that way for me. So yeah, that's how I start.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Adeptus On-Air. I am again your host, Mike Hoffman, and today I am joined by award-winning composer Nan Avant. Nan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Mike, for having me on your show today.
No, I appreciate you
Really
coming
appreciate it.
on. I am a music lover of all kinds. I'd be lying if I said my first one I go to is the classical symphonies and so forth, but I did play an instrument back in high school, and I was in the symphony orchestra, and I was in Region, so I am familiar with it. I have played that music back in the day, so I am looking forward to talking to you.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Nice.
was a French horn player, not a very good one, but a French horn player.
I love the French horn.
Very hard to play.
It's very difficult. I'm very
Yeah.
aware of that. It's the embouchure is really hard to get,
Yes.
and it's very tricky and fragile. But I do love the sound of a French horn.
Yeah.
So
So
nice. I'm glad you played it.
yeah, so you'll appreciate this. So I played trumpet growing up. You start in fourth grade when you start, and then we got to high school. There were so many trumpet players and no one on French horn. So for marching band, they asked us who would play mellophone, which is basically the marching equivalent of a French horn, because obviously you can't march with an instrument on your leg where the French horn rests. So I did that. Then in symphony bands, I had to do French horn. So I played it for a couple of years. And then sophomore year, I tried it out for regions, regional bands. And I made it. I came in 14th. That's
Wow.
great. The problem is
Nice.
only 14 people tried out, but they needed 20. So I came in 14 out of 14, but I made it.
Nice. Good
Yeah.
one.
But then the year after, I actually came in like ninth out of 20 something, so I showed improvement. So I did spend 2 years in symphony orchestra. So it was that's my brush of fame with it. But I do appreciate you coming on. But talk to me about how you got started, because obviously I've talked to a lot of musicians on here, and I think you just kind of grew up with a love of it. But talk to me about like where your passion in the music area was from the beginning, like what kind of music and how it's evolved over time.
Okay. Uh, well, I am a pianist I started piano at 7 years old, and studied with a teacher that we did we do early classical? We must have. Then I finally actually found another teacher in Seattle that I studied with who was really an eye opener of how to really interpret music and
Mm-hmm.
express it. So I studied piano until through high school, and I always loved it. And I actually started to write music in high school as well, and it was piano music
Mm-hmm.
mainly. Actually, that was it. And when I was writing, I pretty much did takeoffs of what I was really playing. Like I was playing a little bit of Granados, Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing Scarlatti. Um, I was doing, of course, Mozart and all that. So I started to write in those
Right.
styles of music. So when I went to college, I decided to major in piano. That was since I was already classically trained, and I majored in
Mm-hmm.
piano. I went to California Institute of the Arts, and I was a concert piano major, which, as you know, in instruments, it takes a lot to do
Yeah.
that. It takes a lot of practicing. So, I mean, there was one summer I think I did like 6 or 8 hours a day of practicing. I was pretty
Wow.
dedicated to that.
And you do that so you don't come in 14th out of 14. That's why you
That's right.
practice. Yeah.
That's right. And it's hard music. Some of the music is just really challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You have to
piano
love it.
is
You have to
what
love it though to do that.
uh to
Like to practice 6, 8 hours a day, you have to really love what you're doing.
Exactly. Well, it's very similar in composition. Like when I'm actually uh well, writing music is, you're just really involved in it. And then when I orchestrate, which I love to orchestrate for the orchestra, I like to finish the piece on piano and then I start, making it for an orchestral score. And I love that. And those are those hours.
Hmm.
You just sit there and focus on it and you're very involved in it. So, anyway, back to what I did. Um, my background was classical. We listened to all kinds of music when I was growing up. My father was from South America, so we had some South American tango type stuff going on in the house, and my mother was very much involved with listening to really beautiful musicals back then. The old musicals on records.
Hmm.
So I'd listen to a lot of music that was very melodic, and that's what I gravitate towards when I'm writing music. It's very tonal, which I'm sure you know what I mean,
Hmm.
and very melody driven because I just feel impelled to write something that has a strong theme, a strong melody, or the singing line. And so when
So
I
are you writing
graduated,
music though along those lines with the intent of words to follow, lyrics?
words, no, with words, lyrics,
Yeah.
no,
Okay. Well,
no, but I
when you
am
made a
working.
comment about that before, I know if that I didn't think that was your intention, but that's why I was asking.
Uh, No, because I'm not a singer and
Right.
I don't write lyrics.
Right.
It's just not part of what I do. Uh instrumental only, but I do write. I have done that. I have written for like voice and piano, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I do have something I'm working on right now for voice and it'll be piano and then orchestra.
Because I've been told by other composers that the process, and maybe at least in their opinion, is a little different when they're composing something that is going to be strictly end of the day instrumental versus
Mhm.
something that eventually might have someone else write lyrics to.
Yeah, I can imagine. I just don't do that.
Yeah.
So it comes out as just instrumental.
Right.
No one said I want to write lyrics to your.
Right, because I think your music. I listened to some of it before. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
What it is obviously those aren't things that are going to be someone singing along to. They're designed to be just instrumental.
right.
Yeah,
You might be able to on some of my
on
pieces
some of them,
sing.
sure.
Yeah. Uh, but I tend to do a lot of leaps in the music. I do a lot of, it'd have to be a certain kind of voice. But yes, I do simply do it for instrumental.
Yeah. Now, what is your process? Because you hit the old adage, and a lot of famous musicians have said it, and some people mention it here too. Kind of like they wake up with a lyric in mind. Obviously, you're not lyrics, so whether it's a tune or something like that, is it something that you're kind of waking up, or you're just kind of walking through the aisles of the supermarket and suddenly you start humming something like, "Wow, I like that." Like
Okay.
what is your if you're going to sit down and say, "I'm going to come up with a piece," what are you starting from?
I start with the piano.
Okay.
I'm sitting at the piano. I improvise. I just start playing.
Hmm.
And a lot of times when I start playing, it just kind of comes out. I don't always have something in my mind.
Okay.
In fact, usually the something in my mind is after I've been working quite a bit on the piano and already experimenting with sounds. And there's been many times in the middle of the night I'll hear something, but it's usually because I've already spent so much time at the keyboard developing ideas and then I hear more ideas.
Hmm.
So then I'm not the kind of person that I'm just randomly hearing things. If I'm not currently working on something,
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen that way for me. So yeah, that's how I start. I start on the piano and I just immerse myself in, I take advantage of technology, obviously. My iPhone,
Hmm. Yeah.
thank goodness. and
Yeah.
I can sit at the piano and record it and use my voice memo.
Yeah.
And I play it back, and then I don't know if you know much about the technology for um, writing programs,
Mhm.
Finale. Are you
Yeah.
familiar
Well,
with?
I gather what it is kind of it hears what you played and it kind of transposes it into writing.
Well, you actually have to put it in there.
Okay.
It's real, whatever you call it, placement.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like editing when you're, yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I have keyboards. I don't know if you can see that, but I have
Yeah.
keyboards hooked up to two computers.
Hmm.
And you play on the keyboard and you punch it into the keypad on the computer.
Hmm.
So they're like eighth notes, quarter notes, rhythm, everything. And that comes out on printed paper, or printed, eventually printed,
Yeah.
but on your screen. And then you just have to keep editing. There's a lot of editing when you're
I'm
doing
sure.
the writing. It's that. But I have handwritten stuff before,
Yeah, I was going to
scores.
say, well, technology, obviously, before the technology, you were doing it the old school way for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually I studied film scoring. I didn't actually mention this, but I studied film scoring here in Seattle with the Pacific Northwest Film Scoring Program.
Hmm.
And Hummy Man, who's like a two-time Emmy-winning award composer, really great, worked with, I'll think of his name. Uh, so he insisted on handwritten
Yeah.
in the beginning, but technology was already there.
Yeah.
There was technology there. He just insisted on it, and it was great. He still does it, and he's still part of the program. And it's it was great to do that. It's tedious,
Hmm.
but so's the programming on the computer tedious.
It's just a different kind of tediousness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's cleaner on the program.
Hmm. Yeah.
Much cleaner. You can get rid of stuff that doesn't look good, make it look nice. But you use the program, computer technology programs for writing music, Finale, and now there's something else out there called Dorico, and I'm learning that now too because I had to. Finale has quit doing their production, their whole thing. So
Hmm.
Finale's done. A lot of us in classical music used Finale. So you work on that and then you get it ready for like recording or concert performances, and you edit it. You get print out your parts, you print out your score, and you do it that way. So um, yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Listen, it's an amazing process because, you know, for any person who listens to music, you just listen to it and it's like, oh, I love that or I don't love that. But no matter what your thoughts of it are, the amount of time, and you
hmm
just mentioned a point that you really didn't think about when you think about a piece that is, for a whole symphony. And, you have the original arrangement, then you got to break it down into, okay, the flutes, the percussion,
hmm hmm
the trumpets, the violins. And you don't really think about that, and so forth. But I'm thinking back to the days where it could be a regular song, but then your part on a certain instrument might just be, quarter notes in the background, or it could be whole notes just to give it a little kind of, flair. But
right,
you don't really think how that all comes together.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, orchestral writing. You have to have it all systemized, and it has to be ready, and you have to have the right. You have to know the instruments. You really do have to study that. So I've studied orchestral writing, and I've I've learned what the ranges are and their capabilities and
Mhm.
what's idiomatic for their instrument, and so
Yeah.
you have to make sure that you're sticking to
Right.
those ideas for those instruments to make them work out. And actually, when I'm writing, I do get together. If I have questions about what I'm doing,
Mhm.
I'll have lessons with a musician
Mhm.
with their instrument. And for instance, one of those pieces that I had mentioned in our email, Nani Lahaina Rhapsody for Violin and Orchestra. And I
Mhm.
just want to say, Nani means beautiful in the Hawaiian language.
Okay.
Um, It has nothing to do with my name.
That's good.
Some people think it does.
Yeah.
No, nothing. Uh, so when I was writing for that, I wanted to, well, let me back up. It's about Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii. And people in the West Coast, I mean, that used to be a vacation spot for us over there. But I happen to actually have lived in Lahaina and worked in Lahaina, Maui when I was like a young adult.
Okay.
I got to be there for a few months, and it was amazing, a wonderful experience. I got to know the Hawaiian people, the culture, and I actually grew to love the Hawaiian music, which, I knew nothing about it before.
Mhm.
So, anyway, when this happened with Lahaina, which was in 2023, the fires, winds and fires is what happened. And that was an emotional impact for me because I had lived there. I knew it. I knew the Banyan Tree. I knew those places. Right. I knew what it was like. And it became just an emotional experience for me. So right around the same time, I had been invited, along with other composers, to write a piece for the London Symphony Orchestra. And the requirement, this is Parma Recordings that invited us. The requirement was to write for violin and orchestra, obviously, and include how the piece generally about the environment. So when I first got that notice and invitation, I thought, okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do about the environment. But then the Hawaii fire happened in Maui, and I just thought, well, there it is, because I feel it. So I spent some time thinking about it, what I was going to do, and I decided to really make the focus on the wind and what happened, the wind, the fires, all that, and also my feeling for the place itself. So I did a lot of research. I did a bit of historical research on winds in Hawaii that had happened, and Maui specifically, how they had been recorded back in the 1800s, and how that had happened and destroyed things. And then I also thought about how am I going to represent this wind. I mean, there was an easy solution, but it took me a while to get there. So I started to think of certain instruments, like maybe the flute. The flute can do like a really cool flutter flute, like whirling sound. So I met with a flutist, and I had her try out some things that I had written, and then I thought, next let's try violin. So I did a little research on that, and I found out that there was like a professor up in Toronto that had videos on YouTube about blowing into a violin instrument. There's holes in the instrument. They're called, the F holes. And she'd blow into it. She demonstrated online, and it created this wind sound. And it was really cool. And I thought, well, I've got a violin. I'll try that and kind of experiment with it. And I talked to her about it online, and she said, well, you'd have to have mics in the recording session, and you got to mic up those violins to get enough of a volume. So I kept thinking about it, and then I decided to meet with a percussionist who lives up in north of Seattle. And he happened to be able to show me the wind machine and demonstrate that to me. So I had been experimenting with my own production of like a digital workstation. You use Logic Pro, and you mess around with that stuff. So I was messing around with the violin, blowing into the violin, recording that. And then I used some drum sound, bass drum sound, and I combined it, and I took it to him, and I said, this is what I want. How do I do this? So we did a whole demonstration of that together. And I actually have a video of it. So it was exactly what I wanted. And so he said, well, let's do the wind machine, which is a really cool instrument. And in the demonstration I was playing like a bass drum rumble. He showed me how to do that, and then I taped it. And that's where I went. I went with wind machine and bass drum to create this sound of the wind and the deep sound also that happens in a wind. It's not just the whistling, it's that, the rumble in the wind. So that's how I start the piece. I actually start out the whole piece with the drum, the bass drum, and then the wind machine comes in and blows. There's some blowing in there. It's a few measures, I think. And then I have the flutes coming in with their wind sound that I liked. And finally, we get the violin, the entrance of the violin. And I tried to carry that wind concept throughout the piece. Like I used 30-second triplets in the violins and all kinds of stuff that I had carried throughout the piece. And then at the same time was this melodic, very melodic line that I had the violinist do with all the passion that I felt for Lahaina. And that was Nani Lahaina Rhapsody.
And I think what people don't realize is, the educational research, for lack of a better phrase, that you put into it. So it was about learning about winds in Hawaii for you to write a song. And a lot of people don't even realize that those things go on for you. I'll use the word to make it as authentic a piece as possible. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when you're going to write a piece, like your latest single, what are you writing it for a purpose? Like you said, you sat down on piano and you start playing, you see what comes out of it. Are you always looking to write a new piece, or are you, because obviously this is a career for you. So, this is and we'll never get into specifics on the podcast, but obviously part of why you're doing this is because you love of music, but you're also looking to make money and so forth. It's your career. So are you ever contracted to come up with a piece, or are you always first just, let me see what I write?
Sometimes I'm contracted. It's small projects.
Yeah.
They're simple. And then, but usually I kind of like deadlines.
Sure. Pressure is good sometimes.
What?
Pressure is good sometimes.
Yeah, totally. It's great for me. So I like to be told that, you got this, and that's going to be due, and then I'll get going on it. Otherwise it's just open. Right. I can't really say I sit down and do tons of stuff just all the time. I'm usually focused on a project and keeping that going and keeping my mission on that. And as far as what I've done, as far as music goes and what I've done, I'm a musician. We've always taught. Musicians usually teach. That's part of what we do. Teach. I've performed. I've done all those kind of things, and now I just simply focus on writing music. And I've done, like I said, I did the film scoring thing, and I did a lot of short indie films and things like that, which were fun. Wrote some great music, and I'm actually currently looking into some licensing libraries to, get the music more available to libraries. So, so that's what I'm doing.
And I think that's always neat too, when you'll hear these stories where a song will just get picked up, like for a movie or something, and then boom, that person now suddenly has exposure that possibly they've never had before.
Yeah, exactly. It's a process, and I got a couple of places that I'm looking into that I think would be pretty good.
Yeah. So talk about your latest single release, and I apologize, I'm going to probably say it wrong. Rememoramini.
Ere Memoramini.
Yeah, I wasn't even close. Okay. Yeah.
So I know that's complicated.
That's a complicated one, yeah.
It's Latin. Latin for to remember or recall.
Okay. Well, it sounds a lot better than calling it to remember or recall. So that, it makes more sense.
Yeah. So that I wrote. I actually had it recorded a couple of times. I wrote it first as a sextet, and it was recorded here in Seattle. And it was a concert performance. I used to work with a producer here that would produce albums and concerts, and sometimes they were concert stages, with Benaroya Hall, which is where the Seattle Symphony plays. And sometimes they were like jazz. and smaller concerts. So I've actually done a little jazz. So that piece in particular was for I was just before, when did we do that? 20, was it 2018? I can't remember exactly the date. So that's it's a Latin tango
Mhm.
kind of piece. And again, very dramatic. What was I thinking of? I not sure what I was thinking of at the time, just drama and passion
Mhm.
because it's pretty passionate. And plus, I actually wrote it for the bandoneon, which is a Argentine accordion type of instrument. So there's an example of where I go in, sit with a musician with their instrument because I didn't really know anything about that instrument.
Mhm.
I knew I liked it because I'd heard it a lot in my life. And I had him demonstrate some things and took some advice as far as, what works well. And then I just set to writing for the ensemble. And then later, what I did was I had it re-recorded for string orchestra and bandoneon.
Mhm.
And that recording is more available out there. That was a Parma Nirvana Records label, and I recorded it in Zagreb, Croatia,
Oh wow.
which I love. That was a cool place. That was
Yeah.
just that was really amazing to go there. And string orchestra. Yeah, it was great. That was a wonderful experience, and glad it's out there for string orchestra as well. So yeah, so that was yeah,
So
one
we
of those.
know this is the realm that you basically work in, but I imagine you're a music lover. So if you were just gonna go out for a walk and we're gonna, you know, play some music, what's your kind of go-to music that you like to kind of just unwind to?
Oh boy, that's hard. Um, I don't always listen to a lot of everything.
Okay.
Although I've had to because I'm in that submission for the Recording Academy.
Hmm.
So you are required to listen. I'm a voting member, so you listen, you spend a lot of time with that, which has been
Hmm.
interesting. So go to, um, I like Latin music,
Okay.
you know. I think I just, yeah, Latin. If I were going to make a choice, Latin jazz, maybe. I like jazz.
I love jazz. Yeah, jazz is great.
Yeah, I love jazz too. I've done a little bit of jazz. I did take a little bit of jazz lessons as a pianist, and then I did study some jazz with Berkeley Music Online, and I got to learn how to actually write for ensemble, jazz ensemble, which was cool. Charts, which I
Hmm.
never did before, and I got a few pieces out there, actually on Spotify that are jazz.
Now, I know you said you took a class in it and so forth. If you were at home tonight, just putting on the TV and you're watching a movie, and obviously there's music in the background, which adds to the scene, and I might notice it if I'm watching the movie or I'm not. Are you watching the movie and enjoying the movie, or are you analyzing the music?
It's
And
usually the music.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's usually, especially if it's good, if it's
yeah.
really good, or maybe if it's not good,
I was going to say maybe if it's not good, you're analyzing it even more.
critiquing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting about listening. So you mentioned earlier about lyrics, and from day one, I never listened. I couldn't listen to lyrics as far as identifying lyrics.
Yeah.
My sister was into pop music and listening to the radio and all that stuff, and she'd know the words. I knew nothing.
Yeah.
I only heard the music,
Mhm.
and I'm still that way. It's hard for me to not focus on just the instrumental part
Right.
and to listen to the words. And yeah, to this day, I'm still that way. So yes, watching a movie, I'm going to listen to that music, and I'll get lost in that, unless it's
Yeah.
a really good movie.
Yeah. You're like, wait, who was the murderer? Sorry, I wasn't even paying
Yeah,
attention. I was listening to the music.
yeah. I'll
Yeah.
ask my husband what happened there again.
you know, I've always found that interesting because it's kind of like I've talked to people in different things. I've talked to either camera people or cinematographer, whatever it is, and they said no matter how much they try, they can't get away from what they do, and they're
Yes.
always critiquing someone else. And some of them said it's a problem because I can get away from my job and I can go watch a movie. When you're in the movies, it's hard to get away from it for entertainment because you're constantly assessing, comparing it to what you do, how I would do it better, different, worse, and so forth.
Right. Well, can you imagine being an actor?
Exactly.
That'd be impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Watching, yeah, you wouldn't pay attention. I can't imagine. Yeah, it would be like that. It's a
I've,
little bit
I've,
more subtle, I think.
I've
I don't know.
always wondered, like, what it's like for a Broadway actor or someone on stage to just say have a role and then their contract runs out and come back and see the show and someone else is that role. I gotta wonder what the range of emotions, A, the range of emotions, but B, are you able to really give an honest viewing and an honest opinion of that? Or is everything, oh, I did it this way, I did it that way? But are you able to subjectively look at the next person?
Yeah, it'd be impossible.
It'd be impossible. Yeah.
You'd have to
I
be
remember, like,
very,
for example, first time I saw on Broadway Dear Evan Hansen and Ben Platt, who was amazing in it. And it's, to me, it was such a weird role, a complex role because of how he had to act and so forth. I'm like, no one's ever going to be able to pull this off. When he leaves, the show's going to whatever. And sure enough, the next few people were, really good in their own ways. But again, you get so trapped into it, like, this is the character. Any other way, it's just not. And that's kind of why when you see some of these movie remakes, not a reboot, but a remake, and you see the same movie you saw 30 years ago with a whole new person playing that lead, it's like it just feels weird for a while.
right, right. The remakes.
The remakes.
Yeah, they should just stick to the original.
Right. Or just make it a sequel and bring back the same cast 30 years later. And, yeah. I never forget
Yeah.
when I was growing up, I forget my mom and my sister, they watched this soap opera or whatever. And then if they had a character that was like so important to the role, but their contract ran out and they left, suddenly the next day, this role was played by someone different. And I'm like, as a kid, I'm like, I never got like, what? Like, no, and like, you watch it, like, you can't accept that person as that character.
Yeah, totally.
Because it was that other person was that other person was George, and this guy can't
Right,
be George because that was George, kind of thing.
right. Yeah, totally.
And yeah,
Totally
so
agree.
so I'm saying behind you different pianos. So I assume that's not just all for show, and you use different pianos for different types of
Oh gosh.
composing.
Yeah, you are seeing that. So yeah, it's not just for show. Although one of them is just sort of not doing anything. The one with the elephants on it in the back is a Studio Steinway I bought years ago.
Mhm.
I used to teach on that.
Okay.
And I still love it, and it's holding things. And the grand in back of me is what I really write on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 7-foot Steinway. I love that piano. Sound is rich. It communicates to me.
Mm-hmm.
And these other two are connected to the computers. So I have to have two right now because I'm using Finale, the old program, because I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of music in that Finale, and I have to be able to get back to it. And then I'm doing Dorico on the new computer, which is this side,
Mm-hmm.
connected to that, and starting to learn how to do the new software program for writing music on Dorico. So that's why I have two and two keyboards. I tried to manage with just one. No, I needed them both.
Yeah.
It's crowded in here.
Yeah. Well, the way the camera looks, it looks like actually a very big room, but I guess you're telling me it's not because it looks like it's very long with the grand behind you, so it looks like it's a big room.
Yeah,
So what's
it's
next
working.
for you professionally? What are you working on now?
I am working on a piece it's actually the voice and orchestra work. I don't talk a lot about things before I've done them.
Sure.
So I just have that kind of thing. But it's out there, and I'll have more information later when I'm deeper in it.
There you go. I believe they
Pardon?
call it a tease.
Yeah, there you go. Tease. Well, it's a reason. There's a reason for it. I just don't like to talk
I
about
get
it
it. I get it.
until.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
any type of music, we'll leave it with this, that you would love one day to compose that you really, like a genre that you really haven't gotten into? I imagine by now you've probably done everything you want to do, but is there really something you'd like to kind of dip your feet in a little more?
Phew. I do like ethnic music. I've done a little bit of it.
And when you say ethnic music, a specific ethnicity or just
Well,
like
you know, Latin.
okay.
But I've listened to some African
Mhm.
music. The rhythms, I think, is what I love rhythmic music. Not only melodic, but rhythmic. I do like that. What do I think I would like to do? I don't know. T- I'm open to anything, I suppose. But orchestral writing is my focus.
Yeah.
That's where I really, um, I just live in that. I
Hey,
live in
that's
that
your love,
realm.
that's your passion, that's your skill. So why not?
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting way to be. Because like I said, I started with piano and that was the main thing. But to be able to translate that into orchestra
Yeah.
is really a great system that I enjoy.
Yeah. Having been very peripherally in it, I admire it because I can only imagine how difficult it is to do what you do. And when you hear a finished product, oh, that sounds good. You don't really think about, oh my God, all the time and sweat that went into that. But I know it has to be just so much work.
There's a lot of work, but I like it.
Yeah.
And I love it. And fortunately, I do write a little bit,
Mhm.
like writing. And there's a few things I've written, like the wind thing. I actually have written up a really informative article on it.
Oh, really?
Hasn't been published, but I wrote for Celtic Bagpipes and Orchestra. I don't know if you found that in my works, but it was recorded with the Royal Scottish National Orchestra. And I wrote an article that was published in Spain, a music online thing that they
Mhm.
asked me to write, and on the how I did it, the process. So I'm glad I have that because I look back to it and I reread it and I think, yeah, that's how I did that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you're in it and you're doing it and then you're writing about it, thank goodness I wrote about it because there really was quite a bit
Right, right.
that went into it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How can people find you, your music and stuff online and through, other streaming platforms?
Okay. So online, my website is nanavant.com, one word. And I'm on all the Facebook, I'm on Twitter or X.
Excellent.
Yeah, I still like Twitter. I like that name.
So do I.
I know when you could say I was going to tweet, that
Yeah,
is better.
yeah, so much.
Yeah, so much better. Instagram, I'm there. I don't do TikTok or anything like that. I just haven't gotten into it. I don't want to put any more time on that.
Yeah.
And then, so it's Nan Avant, same thing.
Mhm.
They can find me that way in those platforms. I have a
And then your
YouTube.
music, I believe, is on Spotify, Apple Music,
Yes,
Amazon Music, Bandcamp,
yes.
and most other platforms, correct?
Yes, I am there. And if you go to my website, then you're going to be able to find those
Yeah.
links. And you can put me in there. And, Nan Avant, you'll find that on those platforms too, the digital
Awesome. Awesome.
listening.
Well, very informative stuff. I enjoy talking to you, and I wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed being with you and talking about music and glad you played the French horn.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On-Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.